Lynch coming to you today. So excited to introduce you to Bhakti Yoga. I'm about to jump on my mat and experience this yoga for the very first time. And the reason is I have an interview with Annette Maria. She's coming in next, and we're going to talk about this beautiful yoga all around love and devotion. And we're going to talk about channeling and energy healing and the warrior and the music and the publishing aspect of this beautiful light. She has so many things to offer you today. So I hope you'll stay listening, stay watching. That fun interview is coming up next. Stay listening, stay watching. Annette Maria, so happy you're here today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your beautiful, busy day to talk to me and connect to me and to introduce your beautiful spiritual modality. And I'm going to butcher that word. So what is the type of yoga that you're going to take us through today?
It's Bhakti Yoga. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to get to know you better. I know we've been talking a lot offline. So for the audience who are listening, whether they're watching this on our YouTube channels or experiencing this on our podcast, we truly do appreciate the audience. So today, our intention is to introduce this beautiful modality and this beautiful light that's in front of you right now, and share her modality and all the things that she does to bring her light to the world. So I know you're a channeler, an energy healer. We're going to get into all that. We're really going to focus on this beautiful yoga, which is all about love and devotion. So I did a little layup to you, but I didn't go into your bio. So with your permission, could you please let our audience know more about you?
Yes, absolutely. So there's so many layers to that question, right? When someone asks that, first and foremost, I'm a soul in a human form. And then the work I do is a different aspect of me. So what I do in this world, I am a founder of a publishing company called Sanctuary Publishing. And I'm also a purpose embodiment coach. So helping women, remove themselves from burning out and living a purpose-driven life and a joyful life. So we do that through various modalities that I infuse together. Coach is a broad term, but I infuse energy healing, channeling, bhakti, all beautiful different modalities of that. Embodiment is a big part of it. So using the body as our vehicle to heal is a big aspect of my work.
I love that.
That is a gist of what I do. I'm also a published author of a children's book called The Worry Wave. It just actually came out recently.
Tell us about that. I did not know that. And that I'll put the links to everything you're talking about below and in the description. So please, a published author, I didn't know that. Tell us what the book is about and tell us more about that before we get into the yoga. She's grabbing it. This is good.
Grabbing it. It's right here. So this is the book. It's called The Worry Wave, and it's teaching children all about worries and anxieties and how they come and go like waves, how things aren't going to keep us stuck forever, how they move through us and how they should move through us. And we as adults, we like to let things, burden us. So this is teaching children to not become us.
What? I love this. You're reminding me, and I'm going to tag my girlfriend in this. Sarah is a goddess yoga instructor. And she always uses meditation of water, you know what I mean? Letting it come and letting it go. And I just love that. So we'll tag that absolute book and
so this is now out on Amazon.
I love it. We'll get it out there for you. I love that. And we have someone who in our group who's pregnant. So thank you for the tip. So how did you actually, I'm going to go off on a little tangent for a second because you're reminding me I was on a Clubhouse yesterday, and I know we're going to talk about that a little later, but where they were talking about, this woman was talking about all these things that she did. And she was like, how do you start? And you said channeling and then energy healer and then yoga. How did you get interested in so many different modalities? And do you use all of them in your spiritual practice?
So yes, I use all of them, but I infuse them to how the individual I'm working with needs them. So we don't just bombard it all at once. It's kind of like a toolbox I go into and I'm like, okay, you need this tool. And how I started to get into it. I mean, yoga was introduced to me when I was in 8th grade. I'm right now 27. So, I mean, that was a very long time ago. I
Who
stumbled into
at
a
8
yoga
years old
class.
was who influenced you for yoga at 8? I'm so jealous.
I think the divine. I was a chubby kid and my mom signed me up to go to the gym, and she would just drop me off and leave me there, and I would always find my way into the yoga room. And that was just really it. I would just tell everyone about it. Like, there's this thing, it's amazing. I would always get dizzy, but I loved it. And there was just something, my past lives were shining. Like, this is it. This is, we're back home. And then it was always in my mind to become a yoga teacher, and all of, that was always in my reality. So after that, I went to school, I went to college to study fashion merchandising, and it never felt completely right. And then right after I graduated, I started real school, I say. So I started
God
yoga
school?
teacher training. Yeah, I started life school and I started yoga teacher training. I became a massage therapist. And then I just started to open up my soul, and I was like, where are we going? Lead me. And that's really what the path of Bhakti has been for me, is this like heart opening soul expression of, I don't know what's happening in my life, and lead me to where I'm going.
I love that. So let me go back a little bit too, because people who will watch this will obviously be interested in yoga, right? So we'll start that as our foundation. Um, and you started when you were 8, which again, I'm so jealous. I don't think I started my yoga practice till I was 40, and I'm 56 now. So jealous you're that many years, right? But my question is, with the so many different kinds of yoga, right? So did you start off with a hatha and then go to the vinyasa and then found this, or did this find you? Take us there, and then we're going to open up the door to what this yoga actually is.
So I started hatha, vinyasa, we went yin, restorative, and then bhakti came in. So
Okay.
bhakti does include the asana, so the physical body postures. But when I speak of bhakti, I'm talking about the devotional element of it, the chanting, the meditation, the devotional side. So yes, there's the physical asana, but in yogic philosophy, that's just one of the 8 limbs, right? So
Okay.
that's not, yoga is not just the physical body.
So let's go to you opening up the door to the bhakti. Do you have to be trained to do this yoga? Or again, is it just more like principles and stuff? So take us through, tell me everything I need to know about this. I'm meeting you on the street. You're telling me you want me to come to this class because you're going to do it. What can I expect? Take me there.
Yeah. So what brought me to Bhakti was, I was in a really hard time in my reality where I was anxiety ridden, and I was going back to my old practices of like regular hatha meditation, seated meditation, and nothing was clicking. I was still anxiety ridden, couldn't function in public, couldn't have a conversation like we're having right now.
Got it.
And I had guidance come through from goddess Lakshmi. She's the goddess of abundance. And it was just this overwhelming energy of chant my mantras. And I was like, all right, I'll chant your mantras. I was like, let's see what they are.
Yeah.
So I would look up Lakshmi mantras, but all of them would be like, get rich quick, chant this mantra, and I was like, okay, this doesn't feel right. And then I went onto Insight Timer, and there was a 10-day Bhakti intro course.
Got it.
And that introduced me to the principles of it. So you don't have to be necessarily trained in it
Okay.
to
Perfect.
practice it, or to lead it, you have to understand the culture.
Got
You're
it.
really working with the culture in India when we're working with Bhakti. You're really working with the philosophy of it all. So, yes, Bhakti has like core principles, and it's not like a list of 20. I
Got
think
it.
the greatest one is, love everybody, serve everybody, and see the divine, the God in everybody. So
Got it.
treat every single individual that you come in contact with as
So
that.
I'm thinking I do Kundalini yoga, and it's different in the sense that there's a whole, practice behind it. And how does normal practice go for this love and devotion practice? Does it start out with chanting? And is there any links that maybe I could share with anybody so that they could experience this with you?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm on the app Insight Timer. So it's a free meditation app. So
Yes.
I share a short japa practice, which is a repetition of a mantra using mala beads 108 times. And you can listen there. So you can,
Okay.
yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. So if I asked you to tell me the backdrop story to this practice, would it be like, is it back in the Buddhist times or is it relatively new? Do you know the backdrop story to this
And
yoga?
the backdrop of bhakti is, the backdrop of yogic philosophy. They say, there's different pathways of yoga. Yoga came from Patanjali, which we don't really know what that is. It could be one person or a group of thousands of individuals. And also, it said it came through Lord Shiva into the world. So there's different ways yoga in general has been channeled through.
Got
And
it.
bhakti has been part of that path altogether. So there's different, ways. Hatha is one, karma yoga is a path, bhakti is another. So bhakti is said to be the easiest, not the easiest, but the most inspiring path towards enlightenment. And that's not
Okay.
necessarily why I do it. But that is something that may be intriguing for individuals because it feels like the purest. It's less, there's no ego really in it because we're just doing it for the love.
I love it.
um, so so that's the essence of bhakti's history. I mean, there's so many aspects to it. We work with the various gods and goddesses, connecting with the energies, using those sacred mantras, the Sanskrit words. And let me just go back a little bit how you were saying the practice. I want to just touch on what those practices look like. So
Yes, thank you.
my personal bhakti practice looks like this. Other individuals' practice may look different. It's not like set in stone, like with how you're saying Kundalini, there's like certain set of
Yeah,
kriyas.
kriyas. Yeah.
So my bhakti practice, depends on the day. I can sit there for hours really if I let myself. So it starts with me chanting the guru mantra, which is just an invocation mantra to the teachers that have brought this practice forward. And then I go into the Ram Nam Japa, which is the meditation practice I mentioned that's on Insight Timer.
Okay.
This mantra practice is given from one of my teachers. His name is Maharaji or Neem Curly Baba. He was Ram Dass's teacher. He was his guru, if you know who Ram Dass is.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
So Maharaji and Ram Dass are a big part of my heart in bhakti.
Got it.
And the Ram Nam Japa is all about chanting the name Ram. And Ram is just a simple Sanskrit term that translates to the divine. So whatever your expression of the divine is, that's the energy that Ram holds.
Got it.
And when we chant the name Ram, it shows us what is possible. It's said that when we chant this mantra, the impossible becomes possible. What can't be done can be done. What already has been done can be undone. So we're really working with the infinite love that's infused in our reality.
Yes.
I chant it 3 rounds of 108 times just because that feels good for me. And you can do that in like 10 minutes.
Okay, I was going to say, how long does that take? But you just answered that. I was
It could
thinking,
take you can make it as long or as short as you want.
okay,
Even just it's just chanting the name one time is planting those seeds within your subconscious, within your being that you're opening to the love.
got it.
So even just chanting it one time, 108 times is beautiful. And then I usually end the practice with and then after that, I do some silent meditation just to connect with myself deeper. And then I'll go into some chanting. So using my harmonium to chant, and I use various mantras to connect with different gods and goddesses that I feel the call to connect with that day.
Got it.
Sometimes certain ones are speaking to me, certain energies, because they all hold different energies. So there's different lineages of bhakti in itself. If you've heard of, the Hare Krishna movement, that's its own form of bhakti, its own path. They're very Krishna focused and they chant Hare Krishna, the Maha Mantra, for their entirety. So
Got it.
there's different paths within the path, of course.
So is there kirtan chanting as part of this love and devotion practice, or is that another branch altogether?
Yeah, kirtan and chanting is essential.
Okay.
Kirtan is what helps us feel the visceral experience of the love. You know, when we say like, "Oh, I'm a being of love." When we chant and we experience kirtan, you can physically feel it like, "Oh no, this is the frequency of love. This is the energy that like you feel so alive and you can just like run around and you feel free like a little kid again."
Yeah. I'm so jealous. I have to tell you why I'm jealous, because you're 27 years old and you are like so advanced. And I'm sure you've heard this 1,000 times, what an old soul you are, right? So from one reader to another, duh, I get that. I'm just so envious that you're where you are in your life because, I'm always envious of, I would say, the younger people. I'm quite a bit older than you are. I hate to admit my age, that are open and part of this ascension that we're part of. So
Mm.
you said something earlier that I definitely want to spend some time talking about because of where we are in the world today. And that is panic and anxiety. And I have to tell you, for the first time in my life, it's all over my channel. I'm experiencing panic and anxiety and being treated for it currently. And I'm so grateful for COVID because it's allowed me to sit with my own self and help people who are experiencing this. And I
Mm.
can say from experience, I know what it feels like, genuinely from my own compassionate heart. So that's been beautiful to understand. But the feeling of anxiety and panic is really overwhelming. So I love the fact that you're saying that this practice can really help with that, because there's two times throughout the day that I feel in my body, and one's on my bike and the other's on my yoga mat.
Mm.
So I love that you have a practice that is dedicated to this. So I'm sure your beautiful spiritual practice for other people and your coaching practice about helping people through that too. So can I go down that road with you, and can you take me into, how does someone work with you? What do you I know it's different because when you're an energy healer, it's whatever they need. I love the fact that you said that. That says quite a bit. So thank you. But can you give me a sense of like attracting the perfect client for you right now based on what you feel your gift is? Who would that be, and how can people get a hold of you? Links below.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So first, I just want to touch on, we all have our own karmic path, and that's also what's part of bhakti and just yoga in general.
Okay.
I may be younger and have experienced this earlier, but that's for a reason. You're where you are for your own reason, right? So it's
Thank
all
you.
it's all perfect. So I just never want anyone to discredit where they
Yeah.
are and
I
compare.
just feel I just really do. So thank you. Thanks for acknowledging that for me.
Absolutely. And so with working with me, so the women that come to work with me are women who I work with women specifically at the moment. And they are individuals who are experiencing burnout in their reality. They're uninspired, they're disassociated, and how you're saying, feeling that heavy anxiety, that contraction of their reality. And they want more, they crave more, they want to expand, but they're stuck. So I lead women to find safety in expanding, to
Okay.
be safe in that unknown energy that life is. um, in the best way that I can, right? I'm not like immune to feeling anxiety. I lead
Yeah.
women through this because I lead myself through this medicine.
Yeah.
I have been the woman that has been so contracted and anxiety ridden, as I said, I couldn't even go to a store. I couldn't even function as a human being.
How
So,
old were you when you were going through that experience? Was this recently, or is this yesterday? Or are you talking? Yeah, help me understand that just so we can connect to you.
yeah, so that was 2017.
Okay.
I was fired from my first real job out of college,
Got it.
had no plan for the first time in my reality. And that just skyrocketed all of my trauma and all of my crap to say, here we are. Now we have time for you to look
Got
at
it.
us.
You're awakening.
Yeah. So that was one of the hardest and most amazing years of my life. Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
love that. Okay. So you're on Instagram. We're going to put all your links below for someone to work with you. You said some amazing things in there. And just so you know, your tribe is my tribe. I support all women. We have a beautiful, I'll connect you to my Facebook group, all healers coming together to do this work. And we support each other on Zoom. And so you would fit right in. And when you said your focus, some people come to mind. So I will make that connection. And you know who you are, people out there. So we got to how does someone work with you? We're moving on. Tell me a success story with this yoga. And I know you've had your own success. So can you give me a story of someone maybe recently that had never experienced this and you were working with them and then they ended up doing this yoga with you? And today, do you have a story like that?
Absolutely. So one of my most recent clients, she is a beautiful Bhakti on her own. She has been, working with Bhakti Yoga previously before coming to work with me. But when she came to work with me, she was in a space of deep fear in her reality, unable to trust and let go was a big, big part of coming to step into a container with me. So through really holding her in this space, showing her that she can be held by a fellow sister, a fellow woman, but also mirroring back to her, the deep love that is woven in, celebrating those small miracles and wins, and also opening up to her own individual multi-dimensional connecting to her ability to channel and to expand and to ask for guidance, that I'm not the person that has to always be reflecting it. To really empower her to do that, she was able to walk away really being able to trust herself, love herself, and feel through emotions rather than, again, let them suffocate her. Rather than let her kind of stop her in her tracks. She now has felt empowered to walk alongside with her shadow and her light, right? Just an integrated being. So that is my greatest honor to give.
I love that. Oh, hopefully you'll share this with her and say, I was talking about you, because I
Absolutely.
bet she would appreciate your awareness to her growth. So that's beautiful. So, we could talk all day because I'm just so fascinated by everything you're saying. So right now with COVID and the pandemic and stuff, are you seeing a lot more people are in that space or needing it? What happens first, the chicken or the egg, right? A lot of this pandemic has kind of brought this to a head, or, in a good way, right? Because we're part of that ascension piece. So as your business thrive during this time, or are you attracting the right client because of that? Or are you, so big question, I know.
Yeah, so my business actually started during this time.
Got it.
I, prior to this, was massaging and teaching the physical asana practice privately, and I was being a massage therapist. And then I was, already transitioning towards this work. But then once I couldn't go back to body work, I was like, all right, I'm all in. So it's been really amazing and transformational to do this work and to start my business during this time. It's been hard, but it's been the most rewarding time. And it's really taught me how to pivot. Now I've added a publishing house into my work. So I'm evolving and allowing my soul to lead me through my business, through the women that come to work with me as well.
I love that. So let me put you on the spot, which I know you're capable of answering. Are you ready? If you had a message for people today on where we are in the world, and it was kind of like, open to the masses, right? So what would you, if you had to close your eyes and kind of think, what would you want most of the people to know, or the women that you're working with to know about where we are today and where we're heading?
Absolutely. So I don't know where we're headed, and I feel safe to say that. I think one, it's important to know when we don't know. And two, I think it's important to look at our reality in the best that we can in a neutral expression, to not label everything as good and bad, because we don't actually know what's good or bad in the long term. When I was in a crap part of my life, I could have said that was the worst year of my existence, but looking back, it was actually one of the best. So I think the only tool I can really offer during this time is to step back and to know that just because something may perceive as bad or perceive as amazing, to not get so attached to that, and just to come back to the love that's within you, and come back to trusting that you're always being led and guided towards where you need to go, no matter what is happening in this external environment.
I love that. So let me just mirror that, and since it's such a great opportunity, because we were having this discussion today too online, dear God, angels, and universe, right? Continue to send me people who are in alignment with my intentions. And then be careful, right? Because your best friend might disappear, or someone brand new might show up. And it's thank you, whoever source, right? That you're riding that wave. And that, so just to your point, this thing that we've all just we're coming through this last year of where we have been with the pandemic and everything, we're emerging out of that into our new beautiful perfectness.
Yeah.
So I love that awareness. So we're kind of wrapping up, because I want people to, learn more about you. When you knew I was going to interview you today, you were hoping, I just want to make sure that this gets said. Is there anything that I've missed before we move into our last part of this interview?
To try and look at those that bring you the most pain, to try and find the soul in them, to try, even just for a moment, to look at them as they are a soul incarnated and working through their own karma and their own struggle. So that is my offering, is to look at yourself as that, look and serve the people around you. If you hate doing the laundry, do the laundry because the love that you have for your family, or whatever it may be.
Yeah, that's
right?
so beautiful.
The individuals that are in your reality as if they are source incarnated, because I think they are.
Okay, let's move into our beautiful rapid fire. And this part I love, the music's kicking up and special effects are taking place. So thank you so much for today. I really do appreciate your time and teaching us your beautiful modality. We're going to put some beautiful links so people can experience that practice for themselves. So what is your favorite movie?
I love the movie 50 First Dates.
Oh, I love that. If you were going to change the world today, you might have already said this, what would you do to change the world?
Love everybody and serve them like they're God.
If you had a pet peeve, what is your pet peeve that you'd like to share?
Oh, hearing people chew drives me crazy.
Oh, too funny. I'll remember that if we ever go to dinner. We all have beautiful qualities that we absolutely love about ourselves. What is something you love about yourself?
My super silly childlike nature.
Love it. And then the last question before we say goodbye is, what are you doing when you're experiencing joy? And I think I know the answer, but please share.
Playing with my tambourine and dancing around the living room and getting weird looks from my dog and laughs from my boyfriend.
Oh my gosh. And I thought it was going to be Bhakti Yoga. Who knew, right? Thank you so much. I so appreciate your time today. And so to the audience who are watching and listening, thank you so much. From our hearts to yours, we truly do appreciate you. So bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Stay right there. We'll cut this little part out. My lawn people just pulled up. So I have a beautiful light coming in. Annette Maria offline.
Annette.
Thank you. Let's start it again.